On air now.
It says no. It doesn't say on air. It says live, Dyami. It's a
Oh,
big
I'm sorry. It's
difference.
live. To everyone listening, we're not dead.
We're not dead. We're actually alive. There's actually two of us, and we are alive. Okay, in five, we'll give it a good edit point, right? In
Sure.
five,
This is gonna edit it. What do we?
4, 3. We're just gonna throw it up raw. Don't worry about it. 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this, the 59th episode. I never thought we'd get to this point of the Modern Woodworkers Association online discussion about all things woodworking. I'm Tom Iovino of Tom'sWorkbench.com, and I'll be your host for this evening's program. Joining us tonight from Long Island, New York, the area where they're actually getting a lot of rain these days, aren't they? Is Dyami Plotke. How's it going, Dyami?
It's going great, Tom. That rain you alluded to, could that be the 13 inches we got in one day about a week and a half ago?
Yeah, I don't understand how that works. I thought I lived in Florida where it rained a lot. It just, by the way, we just had come through here in Florida. They call it a gully washer, as they say, and it really came down. It really just to beat the band. I mean, it was Florida in summer. I mean, it was
Okay.
what you stereotypically think. It was just like, this solid wall of water falling from the sky. You look up, you drown. So how are things in Long Island, though?
Things are fine. Today was the first day of school, so we're getting back into the swing of things.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Get back to the swing of things, brown bag lunches, all that other fun stuff?
All that fun stuff, but there's no more brown bags. My youngest now has an R2-D2 lunch bag that beeps when you press the button.
Hot damn, that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
Hey, I remember
cool.
I'm going to date myself. I remember my Steve Austin $6 Million Man lunchbox made out of the pressed metal with the thermos in it. Now we're talking. Now we're definitely talking. So Dyami, what are you doing in the shop these days?
Well, in my shop, I've got more projects going on than I should. I've got.
Good.
Yeah, I was bored. I only had 2 open projects, so I started a third.
Why not?
Well, I've got the clock that I'm not even throwing in the show notes because it's plodding along. And to all my friends out there, don't take on refinishing projects. Repair is.
To my enemies, go right ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
If I don't like you, refinishing's where you want to go.
I'm moving along with the funeral chairs. I've been working on 2 funeral chairs from Tom Fidgen's book.
Mm-hmm.
And what I found, I have a video about this on my YouTube channel, is making them out of timber strand. And the way the timber strand is laminated, the way the orientation goes with the seat, I figured if somebody with some weight dropped themselves into the seat was going to crack right in half.
Ooh.
So where I'm at now is every piece for both chairs is cut. All the joinery is milled. The last thing I had to do before I start sanding and putting them together is reinforce the seats. So what I did on my test sample, and now I'm doing on the 2 real ones, is on the seats in line with the hinge and the pin. Each seat has a set of hinges in the back and a set of pins in the front, or maybe it's vice versa. But those are the points where the seat attaches to the chair, to the legs. So you have 4 points. So running across the seat from side to side, from point to point, exactly in line with those points, I routed out 1/2 inch wide by 1/2 inch deep slots, and I took little plastic shims in the bottom of the slots to raise up about a 1/16 of an inch, and then I poured some 2-part epoxy in the slot. I took a length of threaded rod, dropped it in the epoxy, and then mixed up some more epoxy, dyed it blue, because that's going to be the color of the finished chair, and poured that over the top. So now, in line with the attachment points, both seats are completely reinforced with epoxy and steel. And I went with the threaded rod because I figured the threads will catch the epoxy better.
Yeah.
And in the mock-up I did, it worked out really good. So I think it's going to work out fine in the actual chair. So I did that over the weekend, and now I'm ready to start sanding them. So that's
nice.
That's where the chairs stand.
Nice.
And then, I've just set up my dust collector. So in setting it up, I realized the things I don't like about it. So I've already started building another dust collector.
It's like with you, it's like, it's a dust collector, but it's going to be like a 16-month ordeal. epic poem. You know, I mean, we're talking like the Iliad, the Odyssey, and the Dust Collector. You know,
it is the Beowulf of dust collectors.
Oh, sure. Without a doubt, we're talking mandatory. You know, like 16-month voyage of discovery. So we're making some changes to the collector, huh?
Well, what I have for a dust collector is I actually have two of them. I picked them up off Craigslist probably 3 and 4 years ago. I've had them both for years.
You know, that guy Craig is a heck of a list, doesn't he?
He really does.
That guy Craig is a heck of a list, doesn't he? Everything for sale on there.
You really got to watch it. I've made some really good tool buys there. But anyway, I picked them both up for $100, and they're Dust Boy style dust collectors. So they're like quasi-cyclones. It's a 55-gallon drum with a motor and an impeller on the top. So I took the newer of the two and hooked it up. And frankly, it works very good. But what I noticed was I was just changing some stuff, and I had to take the bag off. So first, it has a bag. I can only assume it's a 30-micron bag, but there's nothing fancy about the filter bag. And when I took the bag off to make some adjustments, I noticed there were plenty of chips of wood in the bag, not just dust. So on the one hand, I want to go to a sub-1-micron filter, and also I don't want to have chips of wood in the filter. I only want the finest dust to make it to the filter. So Todd Clippinger had a video about how he hooked up a Super Dust Deputy to his dust collector, and he has one of those standard pleated filter on top, plastic bag on the bottom, 1.5-ish horsepower dust collectors.
Sure.
And he was raving about.
It's a lot like my setup I have in my shop. Yeah.
Okay. Todd was raving about how good the Super Dust Deputy does. Yeah, and the Super Dust Deputy is just a giant dust deputy made for dust collectors. It has a 5-inch intake and a 6-inch outtake. So I picked up a Super Dust Deputy, and rather than put it next to the Dust Boy, which is already the size of a 55-gallon drum, I want to kind of combine it and, for what it is, make it as small as I can. So I picked up a 20-gallon drum off Amazon for like $15 or $20, and I've got the Dust Deputy, and now I'm taking the motor and impeller unit off of my second Dust Deputy, and I'm going to mount that directly to the Super Dust Deputy, if that makes sense. So what I still need...
It does make sense, because what's happening is you want to stack. You know, you can go high in the shop. It's just, I've been in your shop, dude. You don't have a lot of space.
No, I don't.
No.
So I still need to pick up a filter, but I basically got all the parts, and now I just need to finish putting them together. What I got done over the weekend is I got the base frame done. So there's a shelf that the Dust Deputy sits on with a hole in the middle of the shelf. I'm going to screw the Dust Deputy down to that hole. From that hole, there'll be a very short length of hose that will go to the containment bin, which I'll be able to pull out and empty.
Sure.
And then I need to build some sort of a frame that will hold the impeller motor unit above the Dust Deputy. And then I need to buy the filter and figure out how to connect the filter. So I'm like, I have 80% of my parts, and I'm probably 40% of the way done actually building it.
Yeah. So in other words, we've got about another year and a half of you building this thing.
Well, my shop doesn't
give us plenty of material to work with.
Yeah. My shop doesn't have the room for one dust collector, so to have two, I'm hoping it's less than that long.
We'll figure something out. I'm sure you will.
We'll see.
So Chris Atkins. So Chris Atkins from Atlanta. What are you doing? Oh wait, you're not on tonight. Poor Chris.
Yeah.
Our friend Chris, I'll tell you, you talk about, we just had Labor Day. Talk about a hardworking guy. I mean, this guy's in the middle of 3 or 4 different construction projects for his day job. So I mean, he's been busy, and he actually, he just even told us, just go right ahead and record tonight without him, because I mean, let's just face it. I mean, he's to the wall with some of these projects.
Yeah, and the one big project he's been working on for, I want to say, around 2 years or so, is basically done, and they're starting to rent rooms in it, and he's only got temporary COs, and he's doing all sorts of stuff to get that project finally wrapped up.
But don't worry, he'll be back. Trust us, he'll be back. So we figured, rather than leave you in the lurch, it would be the Tom and Dyami show.
Yeah.
Actually, it's kind of funny, because the next time we podcast, it's actually going to be the Chris and Tom show. Dyami, you're not going to be joining us, but we're going to get into that in a little bit.
Yes, we will get to that.
We're going to get into that a little bit. Okay.
Before we go there, Tom, what's going on in your shop?
Oh my goodness! There's nothing quite like the feeling of actually finishing a project, is there?
I wouldn't know.
I'm sure you know. You kind of just evolve till you're done. Um, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, I think it might have been March, I decided, wouldn't it be a great idea if I started to build a prototype or just a proof of concept of a plan? It's not my own plan. It's actually a plan from Wood Magazine of a dresser top valet. Something you can put your keys, your wallet, your phone, your work ID, all that stuff on it, and corral it all in one place on your dresser, as opposed to having it all over the place. Well, I started it, and then a couple of projects came along and sidetracked. I had that project to build for my friend at work who had cancer, so that pushed that to the back. I had some other projects in the house. I had a little health issue. The summer happened. It got very hot in the shop, so I had to really slow down. And I finally got the dresser top valet done. And I'll tell you, wow. First of all, it's actually a lot easier than I made it out to be. I made this about as difficult as possible because I didn't break it into the logical components. It was written very well. I just, like an idiot, I didn't think case, top, and drawer, and that's all it is. So I made it a lot more complicated in my mind than it needed to be, and also working in the heat, it kind of, makes you think funny things.
It melts your head.
Mirage visions and stuff like that. So, but instead of using a soft padded vinyl leather type product, I used an anti-grade veneer on a piece of 1/4-inch plywood, and I actually used the hammer veneer, hot glue, to get it down.
That's the method that you taught in your guild, right?
Yeah, I mean, and it gives it a nice look because the rest of the frame is all walnut, and the anti-grade being a lighter wood, very pronounced, kind of almost like a tiger stripe in it.
It looks absolutely beautiful. I'm looking at the picture of it now with it shows off the top.
And, and it's got a nice drawer in it, so all the stuff you don't use normally, you can kind of tuck in there. I mean, I've got some spare batteries for the cell phone that I've got to find a place for and stuff. But really, I mean, it gives you a lot of storage. It's a nice little place you can tuck some things in the back. So for as far as a plan, I think what's going to happen is I'm going to, as the weather cools down, I'll start cranking some of these out. Actually, I may even template out a couple of pieces, just to jig out a couple of pieces, so I could batch out 3 or 4 at a time. And if I cut all the sides at once, they're all done. Have all the routing done. The plan was beautiful because at the router table, I was able to do a lot of the work right there with a 1/4-inch bit. It's a lot of grooves and locking dados and things like that. So it really nice plan. And I'll tell you, if you get a chance to build one, my wife was so happy that I built it because now my keys and my wallet and everything are kind of contained in one area, and it looks nice too. I went with a nice simple aged brass type of handle, and it looks. I think my nephews are going to be pretty happy. But of course, I'm sure they will. But I have a niece who's turning 16 in March, so I'm going to get a couple of these done, then switch gears to the hope chest for my niece, and it's going to be a busy week there, I'll tell you. It's one of those deals where it's like, maybe I need to hire a shop helper, or I've got 2 of them, and I need to get them involved in the product. So,
you need to enlist the shop helper.
I need to get my 2 boys involved, and I think that might help. But one of those things we can do like that. So that's what's in the shop right now. I think the next project might also be in my office. I've got an area that's kind of a large. I just have a couple of chairs in it, and there's really no. What I need is a nice small conference table, maybe something 2 feet by 4 feet. And I was thinking about maybe with a southern yellow pine kind of trestle base table, and putting it in the office because I need to sometimes meet with somebody. Sits down, spread some stuff out, kind of go over some plans. So, I've looked at a couple of these really simple to build trestle table knockdown kind of things, and so I'm thinking that might not be a bad idea for my next project. So, probably month of September, early October, I might tackle that, and then jump into these, to these dresser top valets. I just need a little bit of time off from the dresser top valet.
Okay.
Just a little bit of time off, and then I'll be able to jump right back in. So that's what's happening in Shea Iovino over here, and just happy to be almost through the heat of the summer in Florida. I'm going to be looking, by the way, my air conditioner, that's you can hear churning right now, is getting ready to wheeze its last.
Yeah, you were talking about that in the last episode.
Yeah,
Any
so
luck
it maybe,
replacing it?
so I started, I'm able to keep it going. I vacuumed it out, blew out the inside. Um, I'm hoping that, as we get past the heat of the summer, the Halloween stuff starts showing up in the big box stores, I'm able to get myself a deal on a closeout. I'll keep it in a box all winter, and then when next spring rolls around and it starts to get hot again, I'll be able to get that new system out here. So,
Okay.
hey,
Well,
that's stuff to do. You know what I'm saying?
good luck with that deal. Take a minute and open up the chat and take a look at that. And as you do that, I think we should flip the order of the show notes just for a moment and go on to the goings on in the MWA.
Okay, how
you
do I
wanna-
do the chat? Hold on.
Yeah, let me be less subtle.
Um,
You talk for a
yes.
few minutes. I'll be right back. Why don't you cover what the
Okay.
goings on are?
Oh, the goings on. Okay, you want to know what's going on with the goings on? Okay, so some of the things that are going on in the MWA. Well, gosh, it's always early. It always kind of sneaks up on us, and it's always been in October in the past. But what's going on is actually coming up on September 12th through the 14th is Woodworking in America. We're going to be, it's going to be this year in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and what's going to happen is Dyami's not going to be able to make it. I'm going to miss you, bud. But Chris Atkins will be there, and we're going to have the regular Hygienes. It's going to be the regular group that shows up every year. The venue is going to be a little different, so we're not going to be used to that suburban Cincinnati Covington look. But one of the things we're looking forward to, some of the presenters list looks great. You've got your old traditional standbys, your Roy Underhills, but you've got some really big names coming in to do some lecturing. Of course, the marketplace, you cannot go wrong at the Woodworking America Marketplace. And plus, the best thing about this is you get people from all around the country. Steve Ramsey.
Everywhere but New York.
Everywhere but New York. Sorry, dude. Steve Ramsey, the Woodworking for Mere Mortals, is going to be there, and I got to tell you, all the people who are going to be there, he's the one I'm most excited to meet. Steve, I've admired his work for years. Just a funny guy. Still, Man versus Wood. The kids still laugh at that. They still occasionally want to play it on Facebook, on YouTube. So it's the kind of thing where we really want to, get out there, shake some hands. If you're going to be there, please look us up. We're going to be out and about, kind of shaking hands, meeting, greeting, doing all that stuff. And I'm pretty sure Mike Simpson.
I would expect that you and Chris are going to try to record in the marketplace again.
Exactly what we're going to do. I know that you shipped the broadcast rig.
Yeah, Chris has all the recording equipment.
Which, by the way, thank you again to all of our listeners who contributed to that. That was an outstanding purchase. We were able to use it. We've been able to use it for a couple of opportunities. We're going to put it to use again, without a doubt, this time. Kind of get that sound on the floor. Please, thank you again for your generosity.
Also, Tom, you should be aware of this. I picked up an extra external mic is actually, it's really good for, it just plugs into the recorder, and it's really good for floor recording. So make sure you pull that around. It's in the kit.
Yeah, another thing I'm planning on doing is I invested in a wireless microphone, lavalier, and also handheld. And one thing we've done in our office this summer is actually use the iPad to shoot some high-quality video. It actually has an HD camera, and you can edit and upload. So one day I'm going to try to set up a little bit of roving reporter in the field, bring the tripod, bring the rig, go on down the floor, try to get some things shot and edited. So, maybe we'll have some things, some interviews from the floor, things like that set up. So with any luck, that'll work. Cross our fingers. We'll just have to do some tests to make sure everything works out in advance. But you cross our fingers, knock on wood, the whole 9 yards. But, yeah, we're hoping I haven't heard anything about Mike Simpson. I'm pretty sure the Hansel Olympics are going to be there. If they're not, we're just going to have to get together and just, do crazy things with wood, which sounds weirder in person than ever anything would possibly do. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about the blog post that piqued our interest. Dyami, our friend Todd.
Before we jump to the blog post, I want to finish in the. I want to talk about WIA 15, or Woodworking America next year.
What's up with this?
next year, everyone, and this, if you're not going to do this, you might not be qualified to listen to this, and I apologize to any of our listeners who I'm offending, but Brian Grella, Garage Woodworks, and I had a discussion on Twitter today, and to go to WIA 15, we're going to wear powdered wigs.
Powdered wigs.
Yeah, Chuck Bender apparently approves of it, and that's all the tacit approval I need.
That would be wow. I'd have to find one. I'm sure they're not as common as you might think, but Halloween is around the corner. I'm guessing you might want to consider looking for one this Halloween season at the costume store and then storing it. Allowing it to age mellow. For you, hey, come on. I mean, you buy red, white, and blue stuff on July 4th. I mean, come on, let's do that. So, there's
luckily,
an
Tom,
idea.
Amazon has powdered wings for $18 with Prime shipping.
Get out of town. I think I'm only going to be doing this Halloween.
We digress.
Ludwig von Beethoven, anyone? Yes, I think so. Okay, Dyami, the blog post that piqued our interest. Our friend Todd Clippinger, remember way back in episode number 18, you know Todd.
Everyone knows Todd.
Everybody knows Todd.
If you don't, go to American Craftsman Workshop is his blog and his whole website, and he's fantastic. And what he actually had was a series of 4 posts, and each post has a video. And the whole series is titled The Business of Woodworking. And apparently what happened was Todd was exhibiting at a craft fair, and he talked to 3 other woodworkers at the craft show, and I believe one of them he kind of knew before the show, and 2 of them he met for the first time at the show, and all 3 of them he just asked if he could, talk to them about how they got and managed their business of woodworking and how they handle sales and accounting and that kind of stuff, the business end of it. So each post is dedicated to a different person. There's one about Todd himself, about how he does his business. There's one about Brad Bernhardt, one about Scott Enlow, and one about Nick Pancho. So I have links to each of the individual posts, and if you go to Todd's YouTube channel, you can watch all 4 videos. They're really good interviews from guys who are doing this for a living. I thought it was great of Todd to write them up and share it.
You gotta love it. You gotta love it. I mean, any intelligence you can get. If this is really something where you want to be, if this is where you want to be doing, get the advice of the people who are actually doing it. I mean, that's really critical. I mean, you find people who are actually doing the work, then, the best lessons are those that are taught by those who are actually going through it, and if they're having success,
Absolutely.
More power to them. Without a doubt. I mean, unless of course you want to learn how to do woodworking podcasts, and I strongly recommend you don't ask Chris, Dyami, or myself, and then you'll be much better that way. The Avid Woodworker, Dyami, episode number 18. Yes.
Yeah, carrying the same topic, Lee over at the Avid Woodworker, which is avidwoodworker.com. The Avid Woodworker, it is avidwoodworker.com.
Avid.
He does a nice podcast about woodworking, and he's actually a member of the Atlanta MWA chapter, so we appreciate that. Lee is up to episode 18, and in episode 18 he talks about woodworking for a living, and I think, like most of us, it would be wonderful, but it seems, way out of reach. I can't imagine generating, an income to support myself and my family with insurance and cars and all the fun stuff that life requires. And Lee is basically in the same boat. He runs a law firm. It's a giant leap from running a law firm to woodworking and all that both entail. So he's not in any way advocating just, get up and go, but what he's trying to do is explore different ways to generate income through woodworking and maybe take some of the focus off the formal career and into woodworking, depending on how it can go. And what he's talking about here is just his thoughts on it, and more than anything, just a promise to document the journey and share what he learned and the mistakes he makes and the successes he has as he tries to experiment in marketing and selling of woodworking products. So right now, it's just basically the start of an interesting discussion, but as he continues through it, I think it'll be really interesting to see what Lee does and how he learns and what we can all learn from watching him go through that experience.
And might I add, for those of you who know what I do in my day job, I actually work for Pinellas County here on the west coast of Florida. One of the things that I know a lot of local governments have is an economic development department. Ours is run, there's a great group of folks over at ours, and one of the business development specialists pointed out to me that if you do want to eventually set up a local small business woodworking, they'll provide a lot of support for you as far as, helping you build your business plan and things like that. So, in the case, like I tell people when I talk about hurricane preparedness, you've already bought it. You've already paid for it with your tax dollars, and they've got a vested interest in making sure that you succeed. So since you bought it, you might as well use it like you bought it. So if your local government does have an economic development department, not a bad idea to give them a buzz. They can offer some assistance in getting you off the ground. So it's not a bad place to begin.
No, that's absolutely true.
And our friend Matt Berger.
Yes, our friend Matt Berger.
Just 2 short episodes ago, he's got a cafe press store.
He does.
With his. Yeah. What's up with the glasses?
Well, his cafe press store has all sorts of mostly clothes, but other things branded with his Skate Makers branding. And for anyone who didn't listen to episode 57, why not? And go back and listen. We'll wait. But what he does with what Matt does at Skate Makers, and it's SK8 Makers. It's about homemade skateboards. So what he's got in the cafe press store is lots of shirts and stuff branded with it. But this might be a little too inside baseball. But when I saw his announcement that he had the store, and one of the items in his store is a drinking glass with his logo on it, and it occurred to me that we needed to have drinking glasses with the MWA logo on it.
Probably.
So now, in the MWA cafe press store, we have what I'm going to call the prototype ones with the MWA logo, because I need to do a little tweaking on the logo to make it more appropriate to putting on a glass. So I would hold off on buying an MWA glass yet. But I, for one, have always liked branded glasses ever since I started drinking. So I thought it was just neat to get a
cup. That's
exactly.
A good thing. Yes.
I thought it was nice to get a glass with another woodworker's brand on it. I thought that was just really interesting. So certainly support Matt and get it. And having a cafe press store ourselves and seeing what he's charging, he's not making any money on this stuff. I know we don't make anything on our stuff, and he doesn't make it on either. Cafe press is just an easy print to order service where it doesn't involve us having any capital to get you guys this merchandise. So,
sure. And again, shirts, whatever. I mean, and really, it's all at cost. I mean, it's what it costs. So, believe me, we're not jacking up the price trying to go to Cabo on vacation with this stuff. It's really kind of cool. Just you see the logo running around, you're like, hey, I know those guys.
Exactly, and Matt's doing the same thing. Like the pricing he's put out there is the pricing without him putting any markup on it. It's just what cafe press costs. So it's nice that he's keeping his prices very low and not taking anything off it. The least we can do is support him by spreading the word about his site. And frankly, I'm sorry I missed the interview with him. I was at work that night, but I can't wait to get this book. And I'm very eager to try it out and make a skateboard with kids.
Yeah, it's funny. Our neighbor's son down the street is an avid longboard skateboarder, and it's funny because I told him about the interview, and now it's like he's starting to think, well, maybe I need to come over to your shop, and maybe we can work on something. So you never know.
Maybe he'll let you.
So, I mean, he might have to come over here, and we've got the tooling. So I don't know. It's one of those things where maybe we could figure it out. Neither one of my boys is interested, though. I tell you that neither one's interested. They're just not rolling kids. I don't know. I don't understand. So, oh well. Maybe Dad will have to make one. Then I'll fall and I'll get hurt. And I'll be doing this live from a body cast in a hospital. All right. So the main topic for tonight is. We're live.
We are live. It's dangerous showing you the show notes because Whatever's in the show notes comes out of your mouth.
It does. There's no filter between the show notes and what I say. So, the beauty about that is, of course, that, being woodworkers, being hobby woodworkers, sometimes you do drift away from the, and I'm going to relate to it right now. Sometimes you do feel like you drift away from the craft for a little bit. Summer for me in Florida is difficult. Probably, I think the equivalent would be is if you didn't have heat and you were in an uninsulated shop, Dyami, in the winter, I don't think you'd be doing much woodworking either. So it's the kind of thing where, even, this is also the busy season at work, and I'll tell you, being away from woodworking makes me want to do it more. And you can tell it's something in a sickness you've got when that's where you're at. Because, I tell you, you're sitting there at work and it's the busy season and those deadlines are rolling in, and I keep thinking to myself, that table's going to look really good right there. And it's the kind of thing that kind of drives you to kind of like, where you got to go to get back to it. So it's the one thing about, woodworking. It's if you've been bitten by the bug, what does they say? For those that happens to, for those that doesn't happen to, there's no explanation is possible. For those that does happen to, no explanation is necessary. So
I'll agree with that.
So so part of it is, if you do drift away from it, you take time off. You gotta take care of stuff. We all have family, we all have things going on, we all have, most of us have jobs. With my health thing that went on this summer, it was, it was important for me to be away from it for a while to kind of get things settled and figure out where my new reality is. But now with the fall coming back, it's going to be back in a prime building season for me. So, I've got a list of projects already. And the other thing that really helped this summer was building small things. Mm-hmm. For instance, just a set of doors for the cabinet that we converted over from the TV cabinet to a storage cabinet. Even just a simple thing like that, going out, it was an afternoon's worth of work. Just an incredible, it was a tonic. To get away from stuff for a little bit, a little time in the shop. Yeah, it was hot. Yeah, it was sweaty, but still, was able to, get out and do that. And you could tell you got the bug when that helps, that satisfies. So it's the kind of thing where, even if you do drift away from it, as long as you want to come back, that means you still have the love for it.
Yeah, and it's critical. I do what I have to force myself into the shop, as often as I can, and I wouldn't want to walk away from it for any amount of time.
No. It's one of those things where it's when you get out there and it's you have those moments. Where you're just too busy or something's going on, and but when you get back to it and if it feels good, for me, like I said, there's been days at work I'm ready to chuck it, but I know I can come home and I can see the wife, see the kids, have dinner, and maybe spend a little time out in the shop, and that's really where it's got to be. And one of the good things is with the blog, it's kind of forced me to put a little extra time in it, probably more than I would have if I didn't have the blog to feed. So. It's one of the things there. It's that helps as well. It's kind of encourages me at least once a week to be out there. So it's it's not exactly what I wanted to. And trust me, once I get back and once the temperature drops, we're going to be hours in the shop. It's going to be great. Great way to spend a Saturday, a Sunday, that kind of thing. So as far as the pressing main topic, I guess that's it.
I think we've gone on enough without a guest. I think we've done.
Without a guest, I'm missing Chris.
Yeah.
And no Chris. But again, I do want to say though that in a couple weeks we're going to be in Woodworking in America. Actually, in about a week from tomorrow, I'll be traveling.
The next episode should be from Woodworking America.
Yeah, we're going to be on the floor. It's going to be Chris. It's going to be me, and we'll probably have a guest or two.
Is Sean going to be down there?
I think he is. As a matter of fact, he is. We're going to be splitting a room.
Okay, then yes, I guess he is coming.
He better be there. We're going to be split a room, so we'll probably have another guest host. I know David Pachuto is actually going to be splitting the room too. It's going to be 3 guys in a 2-bed, pull-out couch, bathtub. Chris is going to be sleeping over. It's going to be nuts.
Well, so, you guys have fun with that. I'll be in a sleeping
bag. Yeah, it would be a big slumber party. It'll be great. The big woodworking slumber party. So while you're sleeping in the woods, we're going to be sleeping in that, that comfortable, hotel, and we're going to be doing woodworking day and night. So, all right. Well, that just about wraps it up, I guess, for this show. If you're missing us up already, and who wouldn't be after this jam of a clunker, you can subscribe to the show on iTunes. Just search for the Modern Woodworkers Association. Once you're subscribed, you'll be sure to never miss another piece of high-quality broadcast like we've had tonight.
Some are even good.
While you're in iTunes, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating, even if you don't believe we deserve it, because it helps our rank so others can more easily find us.
And if you, for some reason, still want to learn more about the Modern Woodworkers Association, be sure to visit modernwoodworkersassociation.com. Follow the MWA on Twitter at MWA_national. You can like the MWA on Facebook, or circle the Modern Woodworkers Association on Google+. And while you're there, join the MWA Google+ community for project sharing, discussion, and loads of woodworking banter. And while you wouldn't know it from listening to us, you can.
Can I do it?
But well, I was still going to talk about Google+, goddammit.
Keep going on, okay. But when you're ready, I have to do it.
I feel compelled to promote the community because,
yes.
Contrary to the drabble you heard Tom and I go on about tonight, the discussion on the MWA Google+ community is very good and very enthusiastic, and it's just a wonderful place to talk about woodworking.
Yes, it is. Contrary to what you might believe or hear.
Now, Mr. Iovino, if you please.
Okay. I'm Chris Atkins of High Rock Woodworking and at High Rock WW on Twitter.
I'm Dyami Plotke of penultimatewoodshop.com, and I'm at Dyami Plotke on the Twitters. That's DYAMIPLOTKE.
Okay, and I'm resident shop monkey Tom Iovino of Tom'sWorkbench.com and at Tom's Workbench on Twitter. Until we see you again, and that may be on the floor of woodworking in America.
It better be.
In Winston-Salem, North Carolina, we wish you all happy sawdust.